Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, nothing really works? You stress, you worry, you care too much. But the more you chase control, the more everything slips through your fingers. The tighter you cling, the faster it escapes. That's not just poetry, it's truth, straight from Buddhist wisdom. In today's world, we're obsessed with validation, perfection, and proving ourselves. But what if the real path to peace is to stop caring? Ask yourself, how much of your suffering is self-made? This isn't about apathy, it's about emotional freedom. What you're about to discover might just flip your mindset forever. Because when you finally let go, when you stop fighting, life aligns itself. The problem isn't outside, it's the pressure inside you. But here's the secret. Once you release it, everything starts falling into place. If you take away just one thing from this video, let it be that. And stay until the end. There's a powerful bonus lesson waiting for you. Number 1. Why worrying feels productive, but isn't. Worry pretends to be necessary, but serves no useful purpose. That line changed everything for someone once drowning in stress. Maybe that someone is you. Maybe you've been taught to believe that caring, obsessing, fixing, worrying is the sign of responsibility. But what if I told you that your constant worrying is not helping? It's hurting. Imagine a rocking chair. It moves, it feels like activity, but you never actually go anywhere. That's what worry does. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. It fills your mind with noise and convinces you that you're in control. But deep down, you know you're not. And that's where the suffering begins. In Buddhist thought, suffering is born not from what happens to us, but from our attachment to how things should be. When we care too much about things outside our control, people's opinions, outcomes we can't guarantee, expectations that aren't ours, we create inner conflict. That tight feeling in your chest, that endless loop of what ifs, that's not responsibility. That's attachment disguised as care. Ask yourself this: how much of your stress comes from trying to meet expectations that don't belong to you? If the answer is a lot, you're not alone. You see, the Buddha didn't teach detachment to make us indifferent. He taught it so we could be free. When we stop clinging, worrying, obsessing, we respond instead of react. We act instead of overthink. That's the shift, from thinking mode to being mode. And that begins with presence. Breathe. Feel your feet on the ground. Name the moment, not the million outcomes. Worry often tricks you into believing you're preparing for the worst. But most of the time, you're just reliving the past or rehearsing pain that hasn't happened. You're planning, but you're really just recycling fear. What if, instead of asking, what could go wrong, you asked, what can I do right now? And if there's no action to take, then maybe the most courageous thing is to let go. There's a story of a man clinging to a branch over a cliff. He's screaming for help, terrified. Then he hears a voice. Let go. He resists, but eventually, exhausted, he releases the branch and realizes the ground was just inches below him all along. Sometimes life works like that. When you stop clinging, when you stop overthinking, you land exactly where you were meant to be. So ask yourself today, what are you holding on to that no longer serves you? What would your life look like if you trusted that things will fall into place? The truth is simple but powerful. When you stop caring about the wrong things, you make space for the right ones to enter. You show up lighter, freer, and more alive. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. Build a strong, disciplined mindset. But let your thoughts be calm and your heart untangled. Because when you stop caring, everything starts to fall into place. Focus only on today. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow is imagination. 2. When you let go, life gets lighter. You've been carrying it for so long, you don't even feel the weight anymore. The pressure to be perfect, the fear of disappointing others, the need to control every outcome. It clings to your shoulders like an invisible backpack, tightening, pulling, wearing you down slowly. And one day, you wonder why you feel so tired, even when nothing's gone wrong. Letting go isn't just about moving on. It's about finally noticing that heavy load and choosing to set it down. In Buddhism, to let go doesn't mean to abandon or forget. It means to let be. To stop resisting what is. We suffer not because of what happens to us, but because of our desperate attempts to shape it all, fix it all, and make it fit into our imagined version of how life should be. But life isn't meant to be gripped like a clenched fist. It's meant to be held like water, gently, openly, with care, but never with force. Think about how often you've replayed the same conversation in your head, trying to rewrite it. How often you've obsessed over someone else's opinion, or a missed opportunity, or a future that hasn't even arrived. That's not growth. That's entrapment. And it happens so quietly, you don't even realize the mental noise stealing your peace. Ask yourself, what are you holding on to that's holding you back? There's a story of a monk who travels with a heavy sack of rice over his shoulder. A fellow monk asks, "Why don't you put it down?" The first monk replies, "Because I forgot it was still there." That's how we live, attached to old pains, outdated beliefs, and burdens that no longer serve. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your peace to release what isn't in your hands. When you surrender the illusion of control, something miraculous happens. You create space for presence, for clarity, for breath. Lightness returns, not because life got easier, but because you stopped making it harder. Letting go of judgment allows you to see yourself as you are, not as who you're constantly trying to become. Letting go of expectations frees your relationships from resentment. Letting go of fear invites flow instead of friction. So try this. Can you soften your grip just for today? Can you stop clinging to the past or chasing the future and simply be with what is without resistance? The Buddha said, "You only lose what you cling to." Maybe peace isn't something to find, but something that rises naturally when you remove what's in its way. This isn't giving up, it's waking up. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Just notice, just breathe, and let be. Letting go is not losing, it's lightening the soul. When you stop carrying the weight of everything you can't control, everything begins to fall into place. Peace is not found in holding on. It is found in the quiet courage to release. 3. When you stop feeding the fear loop. Fear begins quietly. A thought, a doubt, a what if. And before you know it, it spirals. Suddenly your chest is tight, your mind is racing, and you're trapped in an invisible loop that plays the same story on repeat. Fear is like a fire. It only grows when you feed it. But what if you just stopped? What if you stopped giving it oxygen and instead simply watched it burn out on its own? Buddhist wisdom teaches that fear is not the enemy. It's the attachment to fear, the stories we build around it, that cause suffering. Fear says, "You're not ready." Fear whispers, "You'll fail." But none of that is truth. It's just noise, echoes of old experiences, imagined futures, and false assumptions. And the more you listen, the more power it gains. It thrives on your attention. The first step to freedom: stop feeding it. Notice the cycle. A fearful thought arises. Your heart responds. your mind panics. Then comes the loop, replaying scenarios, creating imaginary disasters, trying to predict and protect. But here's the thing. Nothing has actually happened. It's all internal. A loop you've danced through before, and you can break it. Pause, breathe, observe. Don't fight the fear. Don't argue with it. Just witness it, like watching a cloud pass across the sky or a leaf float down a stream. You don't need to control it. You just need to not attach to it. Because what you attach to, you become. Think of how often you've given fear the driver's seat. How many dreams you've postponed. How many boundaries you've ignored. How many truths you've silenced just to avoid discomfort. Ask yourself, are you fueling fear with your attention? There's a story of a young monk who sat in meditation and saw fear approach like a shadowy figure. At first, he trembled. But then, instead of running, he invited fear to sit beside him. He said, I see you. You can be here, but you don't get to speak. And slowly, fear faded, powerless in the face of awareness. That's the power of mindfulness. It interrupts the cycle. It says, you're not your thoughts. You're the space in which they come and go. When fear arises, don't resist it. Just label it. Ah, here's fear. Then return to the breath. Return to now. Fear can't live in the present. It only survives in the imagination. So what would happen if you simply watched it, not wrestled it? You'd see that most of your fear isn't real. It's just a habit. And like all habits, it can be broken. This isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming free. Because when you stop feeding fear with your energy, you nourish peace with your presence. Fear loses its power when you stop making it your guide. You are not the storm. You are the sky it passes through. Nothing is to be feared, only understood. 4. Why most problems are just thoughts in disguise. Most of your problems aren't happening in the world. They're happening in your head. A message left unread. A silence after a conversation. A look that felt off. And just like that, your mind grabs the moment, stretches it, and turns it into a movie filled with conflict, rejection, or failure. But here's the truth. The mind is a projector, not reality. And most of what you fear is just a script your thoughts have written without evidence. Buddhism teaches that suffering doesn't come from the situation. It comes from the mind's interpretation of it. You receive one unexpected email, and suddenly your brain creates a dozen stories. What if they're upset? What if I failed? What if I'm not enough? It's not the event. It's the avalanche of thoughts that follow. The mind creates the abyss. The heart crosses it. So many of us are stuck in that mental abyss, convinced it's real, when in fact, it's just thought. Ask yourself, what is actually wrong right now? Not yesterday, not tomorrow. Right now. Feel your breath. Wiggle your fingers. Look around the room. Often, in this very moment, you're safe. But your thoughts have taken you somewhere else, somewhere imaginary, somewhere threatening, somewhere heavy. And the more you believe those thoughts without questioning them, the deeper you fall into a world that doesn't even exist. It's like a dream that feels real until you wake up. Fear, anxiety, judgment, they're all mental simulations. The only way to escape them is to wake up. Come back to your breath. Come back to the body. Return to now. Because now is where life happens. Now is where peace begins. The present moment is simple. The mind complicates it. You've probably had moments where your mind spun something small into a disaster, only to realize later it was never a problem to begin with. That's how powerful the mind is. It creates entire worlds from assumptions. But just because a thought feels real doesn't make it true. Not every thought deserves your belief. Not every story deserves a stage. Imagine you're sitting in a theater. A film is playing. It's intense, emotional, dramatic. But suddenly, you remember, you're just watching. The movie isn't happening to you. It's happening on the screen. That's how you must treat your thoughts. Don't become the character. Be the observer. Are you living in a mental simulation? Are you mistaking thoughts for reality? If so, pause. Feel your feet on the floor. Listen to the sounds around you. Anchor yourself to what's real. Because most problems are just thoughts in disguise. You don't have to solve what doesn't exist. You only have to see it clearly. Peace begins when you stop reacting to the movie in your mind. Your thoughts are clouds. You are the sky. The mind creates the abyss. The heart crosses it. 5. When you pause, the mind calms down. Everything moves so fast. Your thoughts, your reactions, your schedule, your scrolling. And in the blur of it all, you wonder why you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or lost. But the truth is simple. Your mind isn't tired from thinking. It's tired from never stopping. Imagine a glass of muddy water. If you keep stirring it, the water never clears. But if you let it sit, the dirt sinks and clarity returns. That's your mind. It doesn't need fixing. It needs stillness. Buddhism teaches that in silence, wisdom arises, not in noise, not in reaction, but in pause. When you stop, even for a moment, the endless stream of thought begins to lose its grip. The storm of what-ifs, fears, and judgments starts to quiet. One deep breath can change your mental weather. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, but it is transformational. Stillness is where your clarity waits. Think about how often you react instantly. Someone says something upsetting and you snap back. A thought arises and you spiral. A notification pings and you chase it. But what if you paused? Just for a breath, just for a moment. That pause is powerful. It breaks the automatic loop. It invites you back to presence. It gives you the freedom to respond, not just react. Make stillness a habit, not a last resort. Walk without your phone. Eat without distraction. Sit without rushing. Not because it's trendy, but because your mind needs it. Stillness is not inactivity. It's the most conscious form of action. It says, I choose to be here. It says, I'm not at the mercy of my mind. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly stopped? We think productivity comes from doing more, but real power often comes from doing less, intentionally. A monk once said, if you're too busy to sit quietly for 10 minutes a day, you should sit for an hour. Because the more frantic your life feels, the more urgently your soul needs silence. Stillness doesn't mean you remove all sound. It means you stop identifying with the noise inside. You observe it without becoming it. Just like watching clouds pass through the sky, you learn to see your thoughts as visitors, not permanent truths. You remember that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. So pause, right now. Just take 10 mindful breaths. Feel the air enter and leave your body. That simple act, it's not small, it's sacred. Because in that pause, you return home to yourself. And from there, life begins to fall into place. Not because you forced it, but because you finally got out of your own way. Stillness is not escape, it's alignment. When you pause, the chaos outside you stops echoing inside you. In the silence of the mind, the noise of worry dies. 6. Why peace is a daily practice, not a lucky accident. Peace isn't something you stumble upon one lucky morning. It doesn't fall from the sky or arrive when life finally calms down. Because the truth is, life rarely does. There will always be noise, chaos, deadlines, and emotions. But within all that, peace can still live, if you build it. Think of peace like a garden. You don't plant it once and forget it. You water it daily. You clear the weeds. You protect it from storms. That's how it grows. That's how it lasts. In Buddhism, peace isn't something you seek. It's something you become. Do not seek peace. Be peace. That line hits deep because it reminds us that peace isn't found somewhere out there. It's cultivated in here. Every breath you take with awareness, every moment you resist the urge to react, every time you pause before responding. These are acts of peace. These are your watering cans. Most people treat peace like a vacation. They only reach for it when they're burnt out. But imagine if it were part of your daily rhythm. Not some grand ritual, just a simple practice. 5 minutes of silence in the morning before touching your phone. A few deep breaths before bed. A walk without distraction. A moment of gratitude after a stressful day. These are not luxuries, they are lifelines. Ask yourself, what have you done today to feed your peace? Not your ambition, not your obligations, but your peace. If the answer is nothing, you're not broken, you're just disconnected from your source. Reconnect slowly, deliberately. Don't wait for the world to quiet down. Build quiet within yourself. Peace is a habit, and like all habits, it grows with consistency, not perfection. You don't need an hour of meditation. You need 5 intentional minutes, done every day. Because small actions repeated create massive results. Peace compounds like interest. It starts small, but becomes transformative. You might say, but I'm too anxious, or my mind won't sit still. That's okay. You don't practice peace because you're already calm. You practice it because you're not. The anxious mind is not a barrier to peace. It's the very reason you need it. Peace isn't the absence of thoughts. It's the space around them. The ability to notice the storm without becoming it. The world will offer you endless things to care about, most of them loud, urgent, and draining. But when you stop chasing every external validation, when you stop caring about controlling everything, something beautiful happens. Peace starts to rise naturally. Not because life got easier, but because you got anchored. Create a peace ritual, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. Let it be your sacred space. Not to escape life, but to meet it with strength, stillness, and softness. Peace isn't an accident. It's a decision you make daily. Don't wait to feel peaceful. Start acting peacefully. Do not seek peace. Be peace. 7. Why you don't need to have all the answers. We've been trained to believe that certainty equals security. That if you just gather enough answers, make enough plans, and solve every question, life will finally make sense. But that belief is the real source of your anxiety. Because life was never meant to be a solved puzzle. It's a river. And rivers don't need maps, they need flow. The tighter you grip the need to know, the more you resist the current. And the more you resist, the more you suffer. It is not knowing that leads us to wisdom, but embracing not knowing. Buddhism doesn't ask you to master everything. It invites you to let go of needing to. Think about how often you demand clarity before you allow peace. I'll relax when I have it all figured out. But what if clarity doesn't come first? What if peace comes from letting go of needing clarity? There's deep relief in realizing you don't need to know what's next. You don't need a 5-year plan, or a guaranteed outcome, or the perfect answer. You need presence. You need faith in the flow, in the uncertainty isn't a flaw in life. It's a feature. It's the space where possibility lives. When you stop filling that space with fear and just be with it, something softens. You shift from resistance to receptivity, from anxiety to awareness, from control to curiosity. And in that shift, life starts unfolding more naturally, more beautifully, because you're no longer in the way. Ask yourself, are you chasing answers or are you practicing presence? There's a big difference. One demands certainty before peace. The other finds peace in uncertainty. One leads to burnout, the other leads to freedom. The mind always wants to wrap everything into neat conclusions, but wisdom doesn't come from knowing. It comes from being okay with not knowing and walking anyway. There's a Zen teaching that says, let go or be dragged. And nowhere is that more true than in your obsession with control. When you surrender the illusion that you must figure it all out, you become free. Not passive, not indifferent, but fluid, like water, able to adapt, move, bend, and still arrive exactly where you need to be. That's not weakness, that's power. You don't need all the answers, you need trust. Trust in the path, trust in yourself. Trust that even when things don't make sense, they are unfolding with purpose. And in that trust, there is a kind of strength no certainty can give you. Let the river carry you. You don't need to swim upstream anymore. The mind craves answers, but the soul seeks peace. And peace doesn't come from solving, it comes from surrender. It is not knowing that leads us to wisdom, but embracing not knowing. 8. Your value is not tied to other people's approval. You spend so much of your life trying to be seen the right way, liked, accepted, praised. You shape your words carefully, shrink your truth quietly, and twist your path subtly to fit into the expectations others have written for you. But here's the truth. You are not a mirror. You don't exist to reflect the image others want to see. You are a flame, meant to burn as you are, not flicker based on who's watching. Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner. It's not just a quote, it's a warning. The weight you carry isn't always yours. It's the burden of trying to prove yourself in a world that often doesn't even know what it wants from you. It's the emotional debt of living someone else's version of success. But what if your value was never meant to be measured by likes, nods, or applause? What if your worth is constant, unshaken by opinions and untouched by misunderstanding? Worry thrives when your sense of self depends on external validation. If you let the world write your story, it will always erase the parts that make you whole. Inner peace doesn't arrive when everyone finally agrees with you. It arrives the moment you no longer need them to. The moment you choose alignment over approval. Being liked is temporary. Being true is eternal. Letting go of the need to be understood doesn't mean you become cold or distant. It means you stop explaining your soul to people committed to misunderstanding it. It means you live from your center instead of from reaction. It's a radical kind of freedom to stand in your truth even when it's lonely. To breathe fully even when someone else holds their judgment like a weapon. You don't need to fight it. You only need to stop feeding it. Ask yourself, are you living your truth or someone else's script? Are your dreams yours or were they inherited? Are your decisions guided by purpose or just fear of disapproval? Imagine how different your life would feel if you stopped asking, will they approve, and started asking, does this align with who I truly am? Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering, and one of the deepest attachments we hold is to being liked. But when you begin to see approval not as oxygen, but as decoration, you start to breathe on your own. You start to live from a deeper place, a place that doesn't flinch when misunderstood and doesn't chase when ignored. Not everyone will get you, that's okay. You are not here to be understood by all. You are here to live a life that feels true. Be bold in that. Be soft in that. Be free in that. You don't have to reflect anything. You just have to shine. Your value is not up for debate. It's built into your being. 9. Resistance is the root of suffering. There's a strange thing about pain. It often grows louder the more we try to silence it. Like quicksand, the harder you struggle, the deeper you sink. Resistance, though it feels like protection, becomes the very thing that tightens the trap. What you resist persists. These words hold more than wisdom. They hold a mirror. Because most of the suffering we carry isn't from what happens to us, but from our refusal to let it be what it is. We resist change, resist emotion, resist reality itself. And in doing so, we create our own storms. You think control will bring peace, but it rarely does. You brace yourself for what's already arrived. Try to fight off feelings that are already inside you. But suffering is often born in that fight, the inner war between how things are and how you think they should be. The moment you say, "This shouldn't be happening," you birth resistance. And with it, anxiety, tension, despair. But what if the way through isn't to push harder, but to soften? Surrender doesn't mean you approve of everything. It means you stop trying to manage life like a chessboard, as if every outcome must be calculated. It means choosing peace over control. It's a quiet revolution inside you, the shift from fixing to witnessing, from avoidance to allowance. That's the core of Buddhist teaching, that suffering begins when we cling, when we fight reality with our minds instead of accepting it with our hearts. It doesn't mean you never take action. It means your action flows from clarity, not panic. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to stop standing in the way of what is. Ask yourself, where are you pushing instead of allowing? Maybe it's an emotion you won't let rise. Maybe it's a chapter of your life you keep rewriting in your head, hoping for a different past. Maybe it's a fear you've armored yourself against so heavily, you forgot how to breathe beneath it. Whatever it is, resistance is not protecting you, it's exhausting you. Try this. When pain shows up, don't fight it. Watch it. Sit beside it like you would a grieving friend. When fear arises, name it, then breathe. You'll notice something shift, because observation melts what resistance tightens. This isn't giving up, it's giving space. And in that space, healing breathes. It's where wisdom arises. Buddhism doesn't promise the absence of difficulty. It teaches the art of not turning difficulty into suffering. What would change if you stopped resisting your emotions? What if sadness wasn't a signal of weakness, but a passage to understanding? What if discomfort wasn't an enemy, but a doorway? You've tried fighting. Now try letting go. Because when you stop resisting, you stop suffering. And when you stop suffering, you can finally see this moment, this life, this breath was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be real. You don't have to push through everything. Sometimes peace begins by simply allowing it to be. 10. Everything is temporary, even emotions. It's easy to feel like emotions are permanent, like that wave of anxiety, sadness, or frustration will never end. You cling to it, as if it's a part of you, as if it defines you. But emotions, like everything else in life, are temporary. Think of them as weather patterns. They roll in, they rage, and then they fade. The storm passes, the sky clears. "This too shall pass" isn't just a comforting phrase. It's a truth we can lean into when the heaviness feels overwhelming. But here's where we often go wrong. We mistake the moment for a lifetime. We feel the storm and believe it's here to stay, that it will dictate our actions and our future. Anxiety can feel like it owns your heart, but it doesn't. It's simply passing through. The key is to stop building a house in the storm. to not make permanent decisions from temporary emotions. You're not your feelings. You're not your fears. You're the observer of them. In Buddhist teachings, this impermanence is a cornerstone of understanding. Emotions are like waves. They rise and fall, but they don't last forever. If you try to fight the wave, you'll drown. If you try to ride it, you'll tire yourself out. But if you simply let the wave pass through you, it fades naturally and you remain standing. The trick is in the observation. When you feel overwhelmed, instead of pushing it away, simply witness it. See it for what it is, a temporary wave. You don't need to hold on to it, and you certainly don't need to let it define you. Ask yourself, are you letting the moment move through you, or are you clinging to it? That sadness, that anger, that fear, it's all passing through. You don't have to carry it with you. What if you simply allowed the feeling to be without attaching any story to it? No judgment, no resistance, just observing, breathing, and allowing. We often get trapped in the illusion that we must fix or fight every emotion that rises. But what if the key to peace is not in controlling your emotions, but in allowing them to come and go like the weather? The rain will stop, the clouds will part, and in the meantime, you can choose to remain centered. What can you gently release today, knowing it's already fading? The next time anxiety grips you or sadness washes over, remember, this moment is not permanent. It will pass. You don't have to react or resist. Just observe, breathe, and know that the storm will pass, and you'll be standing on the other side, calm, clear, and unshaken. Embrace this truth. Everything is temporary, even your emotions. Let them rise, let them fall, and in the space between, you'll find your peace. 11. Worry shrinks when you act. Worry has a sneaky way of creeping into your mind. It wraps itself around your thoughts, grows heavier with each passing moment, and starts to feel like an unshakable fog. The more you think, the thicker it gets. It's in these moments of uncertainty that you feel stuck, paralyzed, unsure of where to start. But here's the truth. Worry shrinks when you act. The antidote to worry is purposeful motion. Just as the sun burns away the fog, taking action clears the path before you, even if it's just one small step at a time. Anxiety often doesn't stem from the magnitude of a problem, but from the indecision that surrounds it. The longer you hesitate, the more overwhelming the issue becomes. Thoughts spin in endless loops, making the task seem insurmountable. But when you break through that cycle by taking a small, deliberate step, the weight of worry begins to dissolve. It's like switching on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, what seemed impossible is now manageable. In Buddhism, there's an understanding that clarity comes not from thinking more, but from doing. When we're stuck in our heads, we're often searching for perfect answers, for certainty, for control. But the more we try to control, the more we feel out of control. The solution isn't to solve the problem in one giant leap. It's to move. It's about breaking the cycle of overthinking and replacing it with micro-actions. Send that email, have that conversation, write the list of things you've been avoiding. Action, no matter how small, creates momentum. And in that momentum, worry begins to lose its grip. Ask yourself, what's the next right thing I can do? It doesn't have to be grand, but it has to be something. It could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths or setting aside 5 minutes to tackle one part of the problem. The key is to shift from thinking to doing. Worry thrives when we're stuck in a loop of indecision. But when we act, even imperfectly, we break the cycle. The fog starts to lift and clarity begins to emerge. Imagine what it would be like if, instead of letting worry paralyze you, you focused on the smallest step you could take. What if, instead of waiting for the perfect moment, you simply took action in this moment? The task that seemed insurmountable. It becomes a series of small, manageable steps. The problem that felt like a mountain. It becomes a series of pebbles that can be picked up one at a time. So today, replace overthinking with doing. Shift your focus from worrying about what might go wrong to taking purposeful action toward what can go right. Because when you take that step, no matter how small, you'll find that worry doesn't stand a chance against movement. And in that movement, everything starts to fall into place. Bonus lesson: the mind is not you, you are the watcher. Imagine yourself standing on a mountain, the wind brushing against your skin. Below, you see a storm brewing, dark clouds rolling in, thunder rumbling, lightning flashing. But here's the thing: while the storm rages below, the sky above remains unchanged. The clouds move, the storm passes, but the sky is constant. This is how you can begin to view your thoughts, like the clouds. They pass through your mind, but they don't define you. You are the sky, not the storm. This powerful metaphor holds the key to finding peace in a world that feels overwhelming. So often, we believe we are our thoughts, that the racing mind and anxious thoughts define who we are. But what if we told you that you are not your thoughts? You are the awareness behind them. Just as the sky isn't disturbed by the clouds, you don't have to be shaken by the thoughts that pass through your mind. Meditation is one of the most effective ways to begin this shift in identity. It's in the stillness that you start to realize that you are not the thoughts swirling in your head. You are the observer of those thoughts. The more you practice stepping back from your mind, the more you experience the peace that lies beneath the mental noise. And when you realize that you don't have to identify with your thoughts, something miraculous happens. Worry begins to dissolve. You become the watcher, and in that watching, the grip of anxiety loosens. In Buddhism, this concept is often called mindfulness. It's about being present in the moment without getting caught in the stories your mind creates. Instead of reacting to every thought, you simply observe. You become aware of your thoughts, but you don't attach meaning to them. You don't let them dictate your emotions or actions. You simply watch, and in the watching, the power they hold over you fades. Ask yourself, can you sit back and observe the thought without becoming it? The next time a wave of anxiety or worry hits, try this simple exercise. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and notice the thought. Don't try to push it away or fight it. Just observe. Watch it like a cloud passing through the sky. Don't judge it. Don't attach a label. Just let it be. And as you do this, notice how the thought loses its grip on you. It's just a thought. It's temporary. It will pass. Who are you when you're not thinking? This question opens up a whole new realm of possibility. When you stop identifying with your thoughts, you create space for clarity, peace, and wisdom. You begin to experience life as it is, without the filter of your mental chatter. And in this space, you find freedom. The constant noise of worry and anxiety fades away, and what's left is pure presence. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed by your thoughts, remember the sky and the storm. You are the sky, vast and ever-present. The thoughts will come and go, but you remain. And when you stop caring so much about every passing cloud, everything starts to fall into place. Quick summary of the principles. Why worrying feels productive, but isn't. Worry gives the illusion of control, but leads to mental paralysis. It keeps you stuck in a loop of overthinking without progress. The key is to replace worry with conscious action. You don't need more thoughts, you need movement and presence. When you let go, life gets lighter. Letting go is not weakness, it's freedom. The more you hold on to control, expectations, and fear, the heavier life feels. Letting go is a deep inner trust that life will unfold as it should. Lightness returns when we stop resisting reality, when you stop feeding the fear loop. Fear grows when we feed it with attention, replay, and emotional energy. The loop can be broken by becoming aware and choosing to observe rather than react. Awareness dissolves fear's power. Step back and watch the fear without fanning its flames. Why most problems are just thoughts in disguise. Many problems exist only in the mind, not in reality. The mind spins stories, worst-case scenarios, and doubts that distort the present moment. Recognize these patterns and shift your attention back to the now. Most problems are thoughts dressed as threats. When you pause, the mind calms down. A single pause can interrupt hours of mental chaos. Stillness is not inaction, it's clarity. With every conscious breath, the mind returns to peace. The storm passes when we stop running from it and start watching it. Why peace is a daily practice, not a lucky accident. Peace is not found, it's created moment by moment. Through rituals, mindfulness, and reflection, peace becomes your default state. Don't wait for calm, build it. Small daily actions cultivate a mind that no longer chases the storm. Why you don't need to have all the answers. Life was never meant to be fully understood, just deeply experienced. Not knowing is not a weakness, it's wisdom. Embrace the mystery and let life surprise you. In surrendering the need to figure it out, you find freedom. Your value is not tied to other people's approval. When you rely on external validation, your peace becomes fragile. Your worth doesn't depend on being liked, praised, or understood. Choose authenticity over approval. Be true to yourself, and you'll stop fearing judgment. Resistance is the root of suffering. What we resist causes the most inner turmoil. Acceptance doesn't mean liking the situation, but choosing peace over mental war. Soften into what is, and watch the suffering dissolve. True strength lies in allowing, not controlling. Everything is temporary, even emotions. No emotion, thought, or experience is permanent. Anxiety, sadness, uncertainty, they all pass. Remembering impermanence helps you stop clinging or fearing change. All things rise, fall, and fade away in their own time. Worry shrinks. When you act, action is the enemy of anxiety. The longer you sit with worry, the bigger it grows. Even a small step creates momentum and clarity. Move your feet, and the fog of fear begins to lift. The mind is not you, you are the watcher. You are not the voice in your head, you are the awareness observing it. The moment you realize this, your identity shifts from chaos to calm. Meditation reveals this truth. Peace begins when you stop believing every thought you think. In this noisy world, worry has become a habit we wear like a second skin. It whispers that we're falling behind, not doing enough, or missing out. But worry is not a sign of responsibility. It's a trap. The moment you realize that, you begin to reclaim your power. You begin to live with intention rather than reaction. Every principle we shared today is a doorway out of the storm. You are not meant to drown in anxiety, overthinking, or fear. You are meant to rise above it by choosing stillness over stress, action over obsession, and presence over perfection. These practices are not merely ideas. They are tools for liberation. Use them. Zen teaches us the obstacle is not in the way. The obstacle is the way. Worry is your greatest teacher if you dare to observe it, question it, and walk past it. By letting go, pausing, and being fully present, you discover a peace that has always been waiting beneath the noise. You don't need to control everything to live well. You just need to stop being controlled by your mind. Return to this truth daily, and your life will shift from chaos to calm, from fear to freedom. The power was never out there. It's always been within. Now it's your turn to take control of your life. Like and share this video to spread peace in a world that needs it. Comment below. What principle spoke to you the most? Subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more inspiring Buddhist insights on living a peaceful, purposeful life.